Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to wrap up this week with another creator request, this one from Under Red Skies. Unfortunately, I can't find how they came to get in contact with me, where uh, the submission came from, so I can't display the email here and talk about that. But yeah, we're just gonna get into it then, I guess. It's weird. I checked my email, I checked comments, like somehow this band got in contact with me and I can't remember how. So we're gonna check this out though. I'm pretty excited just based off of this. Dang, this. I will never get used to doing the backwards thing. Yeah, this right here, this like empty wasteland with a cracking cube with red light coming out of it. Like that right there just artistically matches up with a lot of stuff that I think is pretty cool. So yeah, let's dive into this. This is Under Red Skies featuring Alex DEROSE of Bog Wraith. The track is Primordial Void. Yes, we got 3 beats per bar, 12 beat phrase. I love that stop. There's like half of a beat worth of silence there. We got this tremolo picking, just giving us this texture underneath everything. Into a very slow 4/4. Wow, they went back down on the chords. Oh, yes. It reminds me a lot of electronic music created with metal instruments. There's such an emphasis on shifting variety. Really nice vocal layering there. interesting how much just sliding action is getting left in the mix here on the guitar strings. All right. I was on board with that right up until the ending. Then it got a bit much for me personally. Um, really interesting things going on throughout most of this. I think the elephant in the room, though, is the vocals. It's interesting. When did this come out? 4 months ago. It's interesting that in the year after Will Ramos joined that band, man, that's bad. I can't remember the name of that band. And introduced all of the wild vocal techniques that he utilizes in conjunction for those songs. Lorna Shore, there we go. That we've seen so many other vocalists come out and I don't want to necessarily say replicate it, but follow in the same vein, not just in vocal covers, which I don't know how many there are, but I've seen at least two for And I Return to Nothingness. No, maybe it was Into the Hellfire. Yeah, I've seen at least two vocal covers for Into the Hellfire that were pretty well done. Um, but I think this is the second or third band that we've checked out that has utilized these same combinations. Again, it's not the exact same ideas, but it's the concept of really pushing the vocal sounds to their limits and using a wide variety of very extreme vocal techniques with against death metal or deathcore, I suppose. I think this is. Um, but yeah, both of the vocalists on display here have a pretty well. No, our primary vocalist has a pretty wide display. I think it was our featured vocalist, the final one that we saw, had two techniques, but they were also a featured vocalist. They didn't have all the time, so I don't necessarily know what their range is. But at least the range displayed here was not as wide as our primary vocalist. And there's just so many different sounds and noises that came out of that. Some of it layered, some of it affected, but all of it, there's some natural component that's just gnarly that they're producing. So that's cool. I mean, I don't think I'll ever get over how extreme it is. Yeah, we're going back to the 2000s, gnarly and extreme and rad. But no, it is. I mean, they're really pushing their vocal styles, and at least for the next few years, I foresee listening to stuff like this and just still being blown away by what people are doing. As always, like I've said, I really enjoy seeing music in general getting pushed to its limits and having pushing the envelope and finding new boundaries for what music is. And that certainly applies to individual components as well. What does it mean to play a guitar? What does it mean to do harsh vocals? And, pushing those, right? So that's always just going to be really interesting to me. But I like the first half of this track. A lot of it felt like sort of taking the ideas of a noisy electronic group like I Speak and translating it to metal. There were so many different textures and tones and sounds, styles even. We started out and I honestly thought we were going to be going more towards a gent route. I was quite surprised when we pushed closer to death and then deathcore. Um, because it was primarily these rhythmic ideas, but there's also a huge focus on silence. I had mentioned at the beginning, like the third beat of every bar, or maybe it was the fourth beat. Anyways, it was closer to the end. Was just a very short staccato hit followed by silence. Like there is no trail off. I would even wager to say if they aren't just doing the tightest muting technique on the guitars, there is probably some engineering going in to cut off any sort of frequency coming in on that half of a beat, because it is pure silence pushed up against that very chunky, punchy staccato note. And then of course the rhythm that comes in immediately after. And it's like getting punched in the gut and having the wind knocked out of you, and that brief moment of having no air within your body before you start to gasp again, which comes pretty quickly. But it's that very brief moment of having no oxygen in your body, and it is a wild feeling to have for music. But I love that. I mean, not losing my breath, that sucks. But that basically it's like a vacuum. There is nothing there for that brief second. It sounds so clean. And it's something that really I only get out of electronic music, where the production and shaving off and controlling of the sound is such an important aspect of the music. There is a production element to metal, but it's not usually so much about the minutia. If you can't do it on your guitar, then it typically isn't altered in post, generally speaking. Um, and so to hear that here, where it almost feels like the engineer goes in and shapes the sound of every single guitar hit, much like an electronic producer would, it's a unique sound for me. And then, like I said, you mix that in with varying guitar tones and different textures and different panning techniques and production techniques, and it feels like a metal song that got handed off to an electronic producer, not a metal producer. And it has just a very different sound to it, a very different feel. It is metal, but it doesn't feel like metal. And I really enjoy that. It's a cool crossover between those two types of music. But then we hit the halfway point and it brings us into our breakdown. Now, I say that negatively. Oh, it brings us into the breakdown. And that's just because of my taste. I'm not a big breakdown guy. And the breakdown here didn't change my opinion on that. But there were some cool things happening that I have to, talk about. And one of those I liked was, again, an understanding of volume and contrast. Well, not even just, I mean, contrast in general, because we do have volume contrast, right? We also have width contrast, and we have layering contrast. And the pairing of all of this together creates a wild roller coaster of a section, where sometimes we will have very big tones. Like there were some growls that I feel like they were double, maybe even triple layered, and then also widened as well. And it created these big booming, well, it was usually just one syllable, wasn't it? That would get these before shifting to another vocal style. So yeah, we'd have these big booming syllables, and then more narrow, gnarly, nasally kind of harshes, and then, rapid double bass kick firing, followed by, like tremolo picking on the guitar, something like that. And it's an onslaught. It really is. It's not like typical deathcore breakdowns where it's just sounds and silence, right? And it's not just the lowering of the speed. This has a lot of variety going on to change up what the song is doing moment to moment, quite literally what it is doing moment to moment. There are so many different textures and timbres coming out of this section from, two beats to two beats. Every two beats, we're hearing something different. And so there is something a little exciting about that. I did find this breakdown to be a bit more engaging than most breakdowns I've heard in the past, primarily because there's that idea of, what's going to happen next. What's he going to do now? What's the band gonna aim for this time? And that's very cool. Um, And yeah, I think that's about it. You know, normally I would add some criticism or some feedback for the creator requests, but honestly, I don't have any because I feel so far out of my depth here. If anything, I would say that the fact that I don't have any strong bit of criticism for this is a positive. Primarily because I was kind of blown away by a lot of the variety going on here. Just lean into that, I suppose. Keep doing what you're doing. There's only 120 subscribers on the page right now, which is seemingly a bit low for what they're doing. They've only been around for 4 months. Oh, there's actually there's one. Actually, there's not. There's a bunch of yeah. There's some teasers. So this is the only song they have released at this moment. 120 subscribers, 4 months. That's not too bad. If you're into deathcore, I say go check them out. um, let's hit the lyrics. I'm not. This is not going to be my cup of tea. I know just from seeing a few of the lyrics on screen and, of course, the video that was paired with it. But let's see what's going on here. It haunts our minds and makes us anxious. Panic ensues. It devours our souls. Ancient scriptures written in gold bring forth thy hatred, bring forth thy greed. Power stricken mind, full of destruction, sin for the unholy being, sacrifice your life, blood drained into a chalice, ritualistic summoning. So, given that this is called Primordial Void, I'm guessing that there is going to be some sort of extra dimensional god that's going to be brought forth here, and this is a recollection of both. It dances between those who are summoning said being and those who are the sacrificed. Um, which is interesting to change the perspective like that. The next stanza says, malicious presence of a cosmic entity. There we go. Enters the realm of the living, corrupt one's mind, poison its body, wicked being, extraterrestrial creature, speak in its tongue, a curse given to one, a mortal being, hatred drunk, slit the throat of an innocent human being, let the blood drain into the book where it's written, immortal life will be given, an illusion for the weak-minded, you've sold your soul. So we have somebody who's been tricked into sacrificing a human to this cosmic god, and in hopes that they would be granted immortal life, but that's not what they're actually doing. They're actually sacrificing themselves into immortal servitude. They are selling their soul to this cosmic entity. As it says, uh, it's an illusion for the weak-minded. This aim for immortality. Emptiness is your home, suffocate in its presence, death is inevitable, your life is mine, I shall drag you into hell, choke on the blood that fills your lungs, stab wounds to the chest, you're just a mess, mortal is all you'll ever be, laid to rest. Now this is interesting because these sound like the words coming from the primordial god, right? This person just sacrificed somebody and says, now give me the immortal life I've been promised, and the god responds with this, which this is also the breakdown. I think this is one of the few times that I've heard a breakdown that I think fits narratively rather than just being what the genre does, so they include it. The harshness, abrasiveness, constant fluctuation in tonality and texture perfectly matches what a cosmic or extra dimensional being would sound like to us mere mortals. And yeah, I don't. That just works for me. It really does. This is one of the few times I'm like, yep, the breakdown makes sense. Then we get our featured vocalist who says, "Grace us with your presence, a newly formed apparition dragged towards the conflagration." So yep, pretty straightforward track. And I mean, I already praised the unusual attention to detail in the song, and now I'm praising a breakdown for the first time. You guys are doing something right. I wish you all the best. All right, until next time. Well, actually, let me take that back. Those are my thoughts on Under Red Skies' Primordial Void. This is where you guys come in. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not, anything that stands out to you, anything you'd like to add on to what I said or correct me on, let me know. Above the comment section is a description box. In there is a link to everything I could find about Under Red Skies, if I can, streaming platforms, and social media. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell, head over to their place, like and subscribe their stuff as well. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow. No, I won't. There's no album review tomorrow. I'll be back on Sunday for the Patreon live stream. Otherwise, I'll be back Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. We're going to start off New Wave Week. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.